It's about that time when we break things down into the championships for College Call of Duty. We got 4 teams headed to San Antonio and 1 who is looking to crown champion at the end of this run. My name is Seymour. With me is Proper, and I'm happy to be kicking things off for the 2025 season finals. Andy, how you feeling?
I feel great, man. It always feels like that seasons, especially for College COD, I've been doing this for so many years now, always come and go so darn quickly. The fact that we started off with over 200 schools at the beginning of the year, now we're just down to 4 on LAN. It just seems so sublime on a year-to-year basis. I'm ready to get this underway, man.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm really excited to see how things are kind of shaping up for the CCL championship as well, because in the round robin breakdown that we have, these teams are kind of shaping up to be a little bit, I'd say, different than what we're used to inside of the championships. Usually we have, 16 teams, or in the past we have like 32 teams. We have really broken it down to just 4 teams this weekend to kind of be the best for CCL. And I kind of really like this, Andy. I like the way that we've shaped things up into this format.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the seeding is all justified off of the College COD finals that did transpire. Of course, Northwood and St. Clair, they both only lost a single map, but I guess like the strength of schedule comparatively to the match win percentage overall is justifiable. And then Fisher and Oklahoma Christian will speak for itself if you go look at that bracket. But I think if you go back to the beginning of the year and you look at the rosters that are playing, maybe barring 1 or maybe 2, this would probably be your top 4 at the beginning of the season. I'm not surprised that we are here on LAN and San An to finally see who's going to be the CCL finalist.
We're seeing here with Northwood, St. Clair, Fisher, and Oklahoma Christian. Only one team can come away with this. And for you and I, we got our first match seemingly already getting started, Andy, because to kick things off for the stream for St. Clair representing Canada, this is a team that always falls short at the CCL finish line. They're going to have to go against some Titans right away. And we got Fisher Esports to match up against them, the champions, the current champions of the CCL. This is a big match for St. Clair if they can walk away with it. This team's got a lot of history this year.
Yeah, they sure do. I mean, in between for both St. Clair and Fisher, they have actually played each other. And throughout all these map mode combinations that we got to see back in the upper bracket, the only one that was played was actually the ball control, of which Fisher College actually won, or in a 1-3 fashion. So I think that if you're St. Clair, you're very happy going in towards the series, knowing that you have beaten Fisher online. But it's Fisher on LAN. And when you start hearing the deads pour across the entirety of that venue, and when it's across from the station of one another, and you got a bang out of a Skyline Hardpoint map number 1, and St. Clair are going to have to bring their A game.
Yeah, St. Clair are definitely going to have to bring their A game for this game in particular. And they've had that across the regional finals. These two teams met up. It was Fisher Esports taking them down in the winners final 3-0. With Bullcut Matt on the roster, and then they bounced back for the Saints in that regional conference final. They took them down 4-1, and they got their revenge. And even in towards the playoffs, these two teams have had a lot of history in meeting each other. So you see in the qualifications, St. Clair actually managed to beat Fisher to qualify 3-1 as well. So getting to this road, Fisher wants some revenge, and even with Bullcut Matt in the roster, we can see if that happens. Skyline Hardpoint for the start, Rewind, Search and Destroy, Vault Control, Hardpoint on Rewind, and Hacienda S&D for that map 5. This best of 5 is definitely something I'm kind of really excited for, especially if we get to that map 4 Rewind, because that's something we got to talk about for a lot of these teams, is how much have they gotten reps on this Rewind Hardpoint. You look at the record for St. Clair and Fisher. I don't know if these stats are really going to be true for that Rewind Hardpoint, Andy, because it's brand new to the map set.
You're going to have to remind me because I'm old and my brain is yet but a feeble construct what it used to be. But depending on when the season actually started, Hardpoint was probably in the rotation. Was the beginning of the CCL season. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're probably thinking to have at least for one Hardpoint. Whether they're real or not is semantics, in my opinion, because when it comes down to these two teams for St. Clair and Fisher, just as a roster sake, they have both played this map mode combination a handful of times, skating all the way at the beginning of this Black Ops 6 season. Skyline map 1, funnily enough, I have to go back and re-correct myself here. It was actually map 4 or when these two teams did face in the upper bracket of the playoff bracket, of one of which St. Clair actually won 250 to 215. So it should be an interesting one, in my opinion, to be able to see how we end up getting this map mode combination in towards the mix. The Vault Control could be a turning point. Rewind, Search, and Destroy could be a big boon for success out of Fisher College. I've seen how these lads have played it before, not in a college COD perspective, but just over that one indeed.
Yeah, and I think that everything's kind of going to shape up if we do get there on that breakdown for Rewind, but for the Skyline is kind of something that's definitely going to be a little bit different than that. And for the St. Clair roster, and especially, you know, considering this is a team that has been together all year, throughout College COD and Challengers playing together, a map like Skyline really fits them. And we look back to the head-to-head for these two teams, and we can see that, you know, across the season, St. Clair have only lost to one game in the regular season. Fisher, they won 0. Hardpoint record still looking better for the for the Falcons, 24-0 compared to 22-0. But it's when you get into like the Search and Destroys that, you know, St. Clair really have been shaping up in this game, and that's when the Saints look so dangerous.
Yeah, totally, absolutely the case. Again, these are just the regular season record. When it came down to playoffs, the Saints actually did get the better of Fisher Falcons. So I think that's what is most important, is where the matter actually meets the mind. And for a lot of these tournaments towards the tail end of the season, that's when you do need to be showing up and playing your best Call of Duty, especially in person like this as well, Colin. And I'm glad that you did bring that up, because it could be a big boon for success out of the Saints. So we get a good look at the venue, all the Fisher there on the right-hand side comparatively to the Saints. Gosh, it's been a while since I've seen these jerseys in person, but it should actually be a very good time. Again, Brack Phantoms on one side, comparatively to the other. The Saints always finding their way in towards a final one way or another. Man, they are scrappy. Very, very good. I'm not surprised to see these two sitting across from the opening salvo between one another.
Yeah, and this is a big deal for the Saints, because you look at their history as a team in College COD, Andy, and there's a reason why I said they always fall short at the CCL finish line, is because you look at, you know, MW2, where they come in 5th, playing with Relays, Blaz, Priestley, and Bendy. Vanguard, they are 7th to 8th, where they lost to SIUE on LAN in a very dramatic way. And then in MW3, they come in 3rd. They're getting better, but it's like these rosters are always changing, and it's getting better and better, and they play so well during the regular season. But this is a team that goes to LAN or goes to the finals, and something goes wrong. So you look at this roster in front of us with the Saints, and this has to be their best chance that we've seen for them to get it done.
Yep. DJ Pro's typing away on his phone back there. And right next to the Saints back of house, and that is exactly what I wanted to tell you. I think it's more of a testament to just how good the entire back of house is, the entirety of St. Clair for a college and university. All the way up there past the border of the Americas in towards the Canadian lands. Always been a big shout out to them. I mean, they have had so many aces up their sleeve. I do miss casting Priest's gameplay. I'll be selfish to go ahead and say it, but obviously with this roster that they do have for themselves, T-Wads, Rupert, KB, and Cootie, I don't think anybody was going to be batting an eyelash at them, but you look on the opposite side as Hunter is sitting there jesting with one of, I guess, a notorious name when it comes down to professional Call of Duty. Timmy Phantoms is one of the straighter shots that we've had throughout the many different years that have a stint in the Pro League, sitting right beside one that is more, I guess, custom towards the CDL main stage recently, and that's going to be Carson Brack. He's had a great season so far in Challengers, and it's only just getting towards its climax so far as a Chancellor looming in the distance.
And for collegiate Call of Duty as well, for Brack, I mean, he goes to Playfly last week. He wins it with this team, and
Casual.
You know, this is all with the recent, I'd say, addition to Bullcut Matt being in this roster, losing out on Dylan Rex as he, you know, made the climb into the Carolina Royal Ravens this year for the CDL in Major 3, and now upcoming for the rest of the season. And it's good that you kind of point out for this roster as well that they have had some decorated players, because even for Phantoms alone, I mean, he missed out on the MW3 season, but in MW2, he came out a champion, or he missed out on the MW2 season, but in MW3 he comes out as a champion with this Fisher squad alongside Ramby, Gunzy, and Darkside. But he was also a part of the Bay State Bulldogs roster back in Vanguard proper, where you place second, losing to Northwood back there, and that was a big thing for CCL at that time, where Phantoms joins in and he takes over this roster, and it's like he has been a part of every single powerhouse that we've had in college COD so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in Phantoms, you even transcend that as far as where he is in his career. Obviously, getting a college education, post professional career is one thing to obviously praise Timmy for, but also what he's been able to do for like a lot of the younger individuals as well. He's been playing with a lot of younger talent, probably leading them towards the, I guess, the yellow brick road that could be collegiate Call of Duty, not only to be able to keep a healthy line inside of the Challengers pit. But enough of this waffling. Gosh darn it, we only got one Brit on payroll here for this fine day, but might as well just continue on with all of it towards the end of this map number 1. I'm so ready to see this map be played out between these two teams. Again, St. Clair did win this between the two in upper bracket of the CCL playoffs. 250 to 215 was the scoreline then, but as Fisher on LAN, I can only imagine what the scoreline might be at the end of this map 1.
This is a weekend that not only showcases the best of collegiate Call of Duty, it shows the best of the possibilities for players looking to go get an education, play Call of Duty, and be at the best of their game. We got champions on this stage. We got soon-to-be champions on this stage this weekend. And we have the very best that Call of Duty is going to be offering right now. St. Clair Fisher going head-to-head on Skyline. We got the championships underway, and I hope you all are ready, as it is going to be St. Clair out the gates with some solid hill time. Fisher, though, playing from the better side.
Yeah, of course, with Fisher getting the election for Team 2. This is Saints and their Glory 4 Skyline map number 1. They have a lot to do, and they're generating a good amount of time while also pressuring out the top side of P2. Exactly what you need to do when you are starting off on the unfavored side, but only one player made their way through. That's going to be KB. Have to see how long he can stay alive and his teammates can accompany them.
I like this too from Fisher. However, they overstep, and that's actually going to allow St. Clair for the spawn in the back for P2. And the Saints are going to take an advantage of this one, already clearing through the couches. They have the clearance, and Fisher have bounced out of this one. So early time at P2. Fisher need a break. They're going to have to find it through this kill off of Seawads.
Rupper's just playing a nasty head glitch. He does get pushed away from it. There's also pressure surmounting all the way through piano. Nobody's watching that angle, so could be players slipping through the net. You got to get these kills if you're the Saints.
Still in the hill. Lots of time here for the Saints. Phantoms over the top. Jumps up almost a second one. Still enough, though, for Bolka to hop up the elevator and see if he can scoop up some of this back-end scrap time. But the Channel's a 50-50. Looks to the left. Cootie's on his right. And still the Saints fighting for a lot of this hill time here at P2.
Yeah, Cootie definitely in his bag there towards the end of this second hard point, right? And that'll secure at least the scrap time and just about a 30-point lead here for the Saints, where we start our rotation over towards New. Fisher still throwing a lot of good numbers at this. Maybe trying to fight for the scrap time, knowing that they got Phantoms all the way in towards the back, as a gunfight versus Cootie loses it. So that would be the spawn effective for the rotation inside a kitchen where Seawads is already lurking.
3 down. Brack, sub in hand. He's going to slide 3 in a row. Can he find number 4? No, but it is enough for the players in respawn of Fisher to break that setup that the Saints had here at P3. The Falcons, they need to get some time off of this one. You see the contest is in for Darkside. Pistols out. He gets a double. Brack on the wing, and it's 3 down again. Fisher in.
Yeah, he's got a good angle over top of the table. The watch players just trying to escape the way of the top side of the stairs. Got Phantoms playing inside of P1. He's watching the top side of the bridge, and he'll have that gunfight. He's stunned free, but he's getting crossed up, and somehow Cootie still walks away with the gunfight win. Inside the time, Seawads finds 3, and St. Clair had broken back inside of P3. Not only that, Colin, they have a really good spread of the map. Rupert's still anchoring the spawns. He's getting active inside of Gym. One player slips the net, but this is a good look for the Saints with their 20-point lead.
Yeah, that was a big moment there, and you can see Bolka Matt. He's going to be looking to see if he can pull these spawns. Rupert shuts that down. I mean, he's going to actually get a second one, too. So, height control for the Saints. Early time at P4. This is where you can net a lot of this hill time on a map like Skyline, so you can see the Falcons taking their time to group up. All 4 players Gonna find an angle into this zone, but Dark Side with the first one to go down. Contest in for a little bit. Brack needs to slide on through, but he's gonna take some damage. KB in the back lines him up. KB gets all three. Saints hold strong.
I mean, KB was just sitting there trying to take a shower, and Brack, all he did was point. He was waiting for somebody to maybe win a gunfight inside of the closet so he could slide through. That doesn't happen. That means that KB lurking inside the showers, get that damage, walk away with that double kill. Dark Side trying to fight for the scrap time. He knows that these spawns are so angered out. His teammates are calling out that they're spawning all the way onto the bad side of patio and kitchen. Rakuti is still running amok. 13-8 for Rakuti. Currently leading the lobby. Dark Side on the opposite side trying his best, but it's the Saints. The whole hardpoint lead.
And Fisher, I mean, you have the patience. Yeah, you have the setup, and you just got to look towards having some better execution, especially towards that P4. I mean, you saw it start to unravel, but the Saints just walking away with so many kills in those big moments. I like this setup, though, for P1. You get this hill time. You have Bull Cut Matt over towards P3 as well. Going to be hard to get anybody down low. That's going to force Cootie to make this overextended play. See if he can flip things out.
P1, though, in the second set. You really turn this into a pressuring point, potentially. If you are Fisher, they're generating a lot of time off of this. I mean, Saints are just waiting for that play to come all the way through, and by the time it gets snuffed out, they lose out
60.
on a lot of time. But you saw the flip of the spawns. I mean, maybe that's what the Saints were playing for, Colin. It took a lot of time. They're still getting the end of the scrap time. That was a weird play, but it all pays out in the end.
Yeah, just a marginal lead, but a lead nonetheless. Seawads, he's traded out. It's going to open up an avenue in Bull Cut Matt. You look at the discipline for him to just post up and wait for his teammates. Not going to get over aggressive and fly. So Fisher, who've opened the door back into the skyline off of P1, now going to look to see if they can break one of the hardest hills in P2. As you got a 3-on-3. Seawads in the back. Split kill feed. It's the Saints looking good so far. KP on the hunt. Drops down. Another double kill for St. Clair. But the spawns in the back, and Fisher get blessed for this one. Brack's going to take advantage of it, and they're in.
I don't think that Phantoms was aware of that play. If he did, he's a 5-head. But if not, it's just dumb luck that Timmy was able to zip up top of the elevator. He contested the point as soon as the other two players for the Saints were about to be spawning in. And that effectively made a 50-50 spawn. And that meant that the numbers were on the opposite side. So Fisher were able to get the spawns. That causes chaos. Luckily enough, the Saints were able to regather themselves off of a very weird play off of P2. I'm about to be losing sleep over that P2 push. But it works out for the Saints at the end. Even amidst all the chaos, the dust settles. They get the last little bit of time before rotating over towards kitchen, but this is the first time that the Fisher Falcons, much different than the last time, Colin, are on the better side of the time.
Yeah, and St. Clair just managing but a 40-point lead, but you remember back to P3 last time, and this is where Fisher got a lot of their time back in the first rotations. KB this time, he is going to roar into the hard point with the triple kill. Saints have flipped things out immediately. And this is red alert for the Falcons, and you can see that for them. They're going to be fighting for the top halls across the catwalk. Dark Side, 21-16, looking to lead this charge. He drops down, bait and switches Matt, and it is the clearance of that rooftop. So with a couple kills there, Fisher have flipped things out, and they're looking good for this P4 hill.
Yeah, the 50-point difference, the break comes through at a moment's notice. This is the pressure in a diamond moment if you are the Falcons. Got to somehow turn this into about a full 50 at the very least. Otherwise, we're talking about map number 2, and the Saints have been brute forcing these break attempts through the front of the holds that Fisher have been attempting to time and time again. Finally, one spawn out does come through. Rack shows up when he needs to. He's on a combined 6 spree with Matt.
And look at this lead just slowly chopping it down. And could this be the time where Fisher finally cracked the code on the St. Clair lead? Well, Saints up top, not going to be expecting this one. Brack on the flank, 6 in a row for your resident AR with the Jackal in hand, 20-17. You look at somebody to lead this team to a championship, it is him.
I was about to be bringing up the point going in towards P4. You look from top to bottom as far as the kills are concerned. Like, the Saints aren't outslaying Fisher at all. Somebody from Fisher needs to get activated, and why not Brack? I mean, Darkside has been trying his damnedest, but Brack picks up the Jackal. You don't see Brack with the stuff all too often, but it is a massive spree. Nonetheless, finally gets snuffed out as we lost connection to the host. So I imagine that game is probably still happening. Everybody was still moving around. Yeah. They're still gaming hard here, guys. So
they're still going.
We just lost connection. We're good. Oh, what a banger!
That's on our side, but man, the one story I had for Fisher, the one curious question that I had for them, I guess, going into this tournament is bowl cut Matt, because I mean, you're injecting a player with, and no disrespect whatsoever, Andy, but you look at the roster that they're kind of bringing into this, and he is the least decorated on it. And you look at where you bring this year somebody like Brack, and he has the opportunity to mold him into his minion for this tournament, and he's looking good.
Hey, it really is, man. You're going to need some of that if you're going to want to make a good run at this championship, because what we were seeing from the rest of them just was not it, but just trying to maybe almost read the lips. The microphones are covering it, for crying out loud. I mean, about like a 20-point lead off of the 8th spree. I don't think the Brack actually got that Hellstorm, so they didn't have that maybe try to rally on into. And P1 on almost a full 60 side of the map was on. Look at their communication. Hunter's watching so intently. I feel like that the Falcons might have been able to convert that pressure.
Well, we're back in no time. And Fisher have actually been able to flip this lead, so...
I was reading the lips so well, I did it!
200 IQ from Proper. And look at this from Darkside, coming alive alongside Matt. Another 2 down on both ends. And St. Clair are boxed out. 30 seconds left for Fisher, and we don't know how much of time is on this hill, but they are fully set up across it. Phantoms, he goes down, but that's at P1. Now Darkside dropping to the next chain in this armor. Brack on the outside, just cutting them down. Nobody has been able to break this P2 hill. There's only 12 seconds left.
Yeah, it looks like they're playing like they can close it out here. Up the zip, desperation, bull cut map. Snaps for 2. Up on a 5 spree. He's got the coverage around the backside of patio. Gotta rotate over towards new, but you just need 2 seconds.
Oh, this is falling apart for the Saints. And it's gotta be perfect. You have to set up at P3, but you can see for Fisher, they know their win condition, and they're flying. Looking to see if they can flip out these spawns. Cootie's going to be in trouble into 2v1 in the back. Cootie doesn't find anything, and that's going to pull the attention around. Rupert finding Phantoms. 2 down, make it 3 for St. Clair. Still holding on to this hill, but they haven't flipped these spawns back, and they have to turn their attention to grass.
They got to just all turtle inside of the time. Everybody from Fisher are just funneling to the backside of P4, and they all die. 221 to 248. C-Watt's looking to flip around the back, and they flip the spawns as well.
If you read this, you must. It's Darkside up top. He's going to be cut down. Another 2 for the Saints. 3 down again.
No way.
15 seconds for them to have a miraculous comeback on P3, and look at this rotation as well. Fisher blasting for the front doors. They only need 2 seconds. St. Clair have to turn around, but P4 pops, and they're here. They're in 6 seconds. Brack around the back. He drops Rupert up top. Cutting down the rotations. 3 down again for St. Clair, and they hold strong at the finish line, silencing the Falcons in map 1.
Oh, but you see just Brack immediately turning over, a little smirk on Carson's face. He knows darn well that was so close. But, I mean, the Saints, they had a 50-point lead at one point, a 60, almost 70-point lead. And then even towards the end, we lost connection originally. They had about a 20-point lead or so. It always felt like the Saints were in the lead, that they probably should have been able to win this much longer ago. But Fisher gave him a run for it. Talk about a sequence of events. Being able to utilize what was working so well for the Saints was just breaking through all these setups for Fisher College. And by the time that they finally got inside of the setup, they did the unthinkable. C-Wads made the push around bedroom that threatened the spawns. All of Fisher, they spawned on the backside of P2. And then they just had to run straight through patio, where the Saints were constantly sprinting. Their attack sprint was always going AWOL, because they were right there where they needed to, finding trades, keeping the hard point contested, maintaining spots. In those final 25 seconds, had to have been the most picture-perfect run-and-gun Call of Duty fundamental I've ever seen in my life.
That was insane. And on a map like Skyline, no less, where it is near impossible to control those P3 spawns. Really hard to manipulate, but they do it. And they, like you said, they turtle, they get the kills, and I've never seen anything like that. What a way to open up our LAN, Andy. 2-point difference, and Fisher fumble in the bag in map 1. When you look across the scoreboard, I mean, Cody was a big part of relatively everything. 30 and 29, 22 non-traded. Rupert as well on those back spawns for the P4 rotation. He was holding that top bed. Big moments for Saints, but everything kind of looks over inside the hill. And when it came down to those hill-holding moments, it was KB so often finding 2 or 3 inside the objective for him to have a minute 36 on that hill time. That's absolute cinema if I've ever seen it from just Call of Duty in general. And we got to give our flowers over towards this Fisher roster too for what was able to happen, because again, you know, you look at players to play well, and you know, I'm just going to continue to give him his flowers. I mean, Bullcup Matt was like, I thought he put the nail in the coffin over at that P2 hill. He had an insane run.
Yeah, surely, man. I mean, even just like rethinking about the stats, like when we lost connection to the game originally, like Kuti was the only one that was positive. He was the only one that was finding like positive influence in the kill department for the St. Clair Saints, but it's always been their fundamentals. Like KB always being able to anchor out the spawns. And once that 8 spree happened, you saw Brack was finally able to go positive, and it was able to brute force the influence for Fisher College, almost that they were missing like that extra little bit of pace that Kuti and Rupert were able to bring towards the end. And I got to give a big shout out to Rupert as well. In those final few moments, he was the one that made the most influential push. You had players inside P3, but he actually went selfishly inside a gymnasium. I think he was trying to play the cross, but if he doesn't get that audio of everybody just running straight through the bridge, that break probably comes through, and the Fisher College are probably up 1-0. I just saw the replay happen. I just rolled it back on the stream itself just to make sure I saw that correctly. So, I mean, big shout out to all of the Saints for St. Clair. They've been getting away with this the entirety of the season. Their teamwork, their fundamentals, absolutely on point.
Yeah, and even in that moment, too, just to have the smallest little angle on the bridge from Jim. That support system that they have. It's why we see St. Clair play so well together. It's why we see Cabal play so well in Challengers. They got what it takes when they really need it the most. And that is a defining moment for what we expect for the entirety of this top 4 of College COD. So heading into the Rewind, Search and Destroy. I mean, hopefully lightning doesn't strike twice in the clutch factor if you're Fisher, but you got to bounce back now in the search. And who do you look to on a Rewind to be that player?
I'm probably going to continue to put money into Brack. I think this is going to be a Brack versus KB, or even like you could throw a Rupert into that as well, maybe, depending on how the Saints are playing this Rewind, Search, and Destroy. But it's all going to come down to those crosses. Your SMGs can only get away with so much without the AR support on this main street.
Well, Rupert's going to be pressured out already. Somebody working through Burger. That's Brack. He's just going to slide back. I don't think Rupert fully saw him, so he's going to expend the stun just to re-clear that area. As fully boxed out at A, no streak control, no option really to go to B without a trophy, so they're just going to look to dance, and you can see that dark side. He's going to jump up and spot it out.
Yeah, mostly comes down to Kuti to try to win this opening gunfight on the backside of the DVD pillars. He's going to lay the rock down, being Overwatch as well. But Brack did throw that stun. He knew that Rupert was towards the back. Fisher with no trophy. They want a 4v4 retake.
That's good help from KB. Early trade, though, from Phantoms. Keep this one alive. Shots in the back, too, and it's Brack to separate them. 2v3 for St. Clair off this post plant, and Rupert, he's got to activate. He's going to get involved, but he doesn't have an eye onto the bomb carrier, and Brack supports him. C1 counters it, though. And nobody's watching the closet flank, so C1's coming in clutch for the Saints.
Wow. I mean, it's one thing for Brack to be able to get that stun and the information. You know, one player's playing on the backside of the street, so he doesn't want to push through Burger. The other 3 players kind of halt up their presence through street, and it makes them hesitate on any pressure around A. So they have to revert back to a 4v4 retake, and without any information, the only way that they were going to do that, the backside of Jenny's, which is where you saw the potential for Brack to be able to hop that defuse, but it was planned for C-Watts. He gets the 3 in the round and the clutch to boot.
Nobody's matching St. Clair in the clutch right now. There's big moments for the team, keeping them ahead of the Falcons, who need to put a stop on this momentum. C-Watts, he's on 3 in a row, and I like this call towards the streets. 3 players looking to take this outside. Phantom's pressured away, but Brack's going to come for the assistance, and it's first blood to Fisher. Inside round 2, Phantom's just playing his life out here, keeping the information and setting up Darkside for the flank. He gets around it. 2 versus 3. Now a 1 versus 3 for the Saints. It's Cody this time. See if you got the magic.
Darkside. He was the player to be watching the entire time, right? You're always going to have an AR watching that Burger Street. But that's how you get an SMG to enact their presence. Cody might have the right read, though, in this 1v3. This is, in fact, coming back towards B. Has a Semtex if he wants to use it, and he has the information. He sees him jump, gets the info, 20 seconds. He couldn't get the kill quick enough and get away with his life, but yeah, it was just a really cool execute all together for Fisher College. If you're going to hit something, hit it fast, cause a lot of noise. You know that one AR is probably going to be watching that cross. Same thing, stun that Brack threw on their opening defense in round number 1. So happens that it was Phantoms. He was just watching that cross conveying information continuously, albeit you lost Bull Cut Matt on the bomb push. It was Darkside was trying to work that flank all the way through shops, all the way through the cuts of court, be able to pinch those players and to get the numbers there for the Fisher Falcons as they tie up 1 apiece.
You know, I kind of saw the stars align for a second, you know, with the bomb player getting pressured and then a couple separated. But Fisher silencing that momentum now. See if they can answer back. Another first blood. This time, it's Darkside. Fisher back-to-back in that column. And bomb down in Jenny's. Brack's got the Jackal. He is happy in this position to just continue to shut the door.
Yeah, but gets audio a little bit too late. KB slides through. Full HP as well. That bomb has been dropped in the worst ways possible in this 2v3. Both Rupert and KB got to stack up together. Trying to catch a player by surprise. KB's getting a lot of pressure all the way through streets. Maybe could pinch this player by surprise. It's Bull Cut Matt.
And it's going to separate Darkside from the potential trade. As they don't know, but with this lane being open, they should be communicating, and it looks like Phantoms is going to go re-clear this. So all the way in the back, he wins the fight versus KP, leaving Rupert alone in the 1v3. Fully surrounded, and you can see the arrows for Fisher turn around into the 1v2, but 30 seconds, Andy, to go get this bomb and plant it, and he does not have the Jackals, so this is going to be a tough one to challenge. And for Matt and Darkside, if they both flip this one out, Rupert's going to have to fight outside. He turns his back to both of them, and it's cooked.
The panic dive into the corner, face palm. Surprised that didn't take away the kill. He was 1 HP, but regardless, the difference in between an aggressive push in towards shops and the next defense for the Fisher College when they have a trophy system is to deny all of that presence and information on the opposite side of the shops that originally pushed Fisher College away in their opening defense. That allows them to posture up inside of Jenny's, like you were talking about, for Brack. He gets up to his 5th kill. Darkside's now up to 4 in a row. Fisher just playing really well off of the alarm bells they're setting up for one another.
So far for both teams, First Blood has led to a round win. KP's looking to get aggressive through Burker. He's going to get the information of Phantoms and... okay.
All cooked nade.
That is a fantastic nade. So First Blood to the Saints. Let's see if they can hold off this B zone. Cootie underneath in the courtyard, taking a second one down, eviscerates Darksides. Fisher find themselves in a 2 versus 4. Brack's gonna get up top onto the 18, see if you can maybe bleed it out, but nothing is being given.
Gets the jump peek though, sees the player playing inside the corner. Seawatson, he is shooting so straight right now. Rips Brack to mid-range, tries to get the information. It was a matter of time, ticking tie bomb, comes the flank around, and everybody's asking for the questions on who can see what at what point in time. What the hell just went wrong? I mean, Phantom staying in that 1v1 for way too long. Biggest difference, you can see this MTEX flying all the way through, would have had time to react to it, but KB is the old school type of player, man. He plays with that frag grenade, he gets that kill. That allows the pinch to come all the way through. But that one kill that comes through off of the jump peek from Cootie, from the Semtex, and then the headshots on the Darkside rips him off of the force spree as well. I mean, it's like you said, I mean, St. Clair cannot be matched in the clutch right now by the Fisher Falcons.
A 3 in a row again. This time it's Cootie. It was C-Watts earlier. First Bloods have reigned true. So you can see who is going to open things up in round 5. As it is complete patience from the Falcons. Waiting for St. Clair to make a play. Rupert's going to get spotted and tagged down to 24. The Saints are going to make no progress off that. Finally, they slide into the A site. Looks like Darkside's going to get an angle on it as well. Stun, though, not going to land onto anything. KB's going to get into position, and Saints looking for any mistake.
Brack has beseeched this entire burger lane to Phantoms now, and Phantoms going to get the late peek. Yeah, he transitions away from Dumpster, but that cross is still being held. Bomb being planted. 3v3.
It's an instant trade from KB. Fisher Esports in the hot seat right now. See if they can get this retake going. There's already have 2 on site, but there's a flank coming through. And it's going to be Seawads in behind again to see if he can put this one away. Finds the first one tagged up. Plays it patiently, and the timing's going to work out again. He is just rotating around it. 15 seconds. Seawads non-stop in that running column, and he just spots him out. He plays the time. Seawads playing it perfect.
Oh, wow. Is he ever playing the clock perfectly, playing the information, executing things flawlessly. If Phantoms rips KB, or was it Rupert all the way to the backside of the burger dumpster, we could be talking in something entirely different in that post plant. But 3v3 exit kill for the post plant scenario for the Saints. You know, it was all just playing trades soon afterwards. They knew where Phantoms was located at. The last bit of information was lacking all the way through Jenny's side. And then they were able to play those trades effectively. Seawads at the end, only so much time left on the clock. And off the past 2 rounds, the Falcons are left reeling. It's like you said, the first blood is one thing, but Saints are throwing caution to the wind. How about this Burger Town push?
RCXD, look how deep Seawads into this play as well in laundry. So fight outside onto Phantoms. He's on to 13. KB doesn't chase it. Instead, he's going to be letting Seawads know that he has got Phantoms pinned down in this position. But the bomb's going over towards B, and Brack has found a kill. So this opens up for a potential plant, but they still have to dig themselves out of this hole. Lovely shots from Brack. The nade in the back, not going to hit in time. Still trades, though, favoring the Falcons. Bomb still at B. KB gonna see if he can pull this one back. Slides out. Matt's down. Now he's in trouble. Trying to dance around the bomb carrier. 1v1. Darkside with the sub. And 38 seconds to make this one happen. He knows Rupert's back here. He just has to find the right timing. Rupert slides to the bomb, and Darkside has no angle. He's finessing as long as possible, waiting for a chance. And it's just not there. Rupert is being so annoying right now. Finally, the slide out. Darkside has him weak to run in with the pistol. And it's Darkside to clutch up this time when Falcons need him.
What the gulag of a final 1v1 was that? That was insanity. I mean, but Rupert should just be happy he's alive. He had to have heard a whim, just a musical whim come through off of those shots that came through from Brack. Had to have been 1 HP, but KB, big push out of him to at least deny that initial bomb plant from coming through to set up Rupert for that 1v1. But Darkside, well, we've seen how cracked he can be, and even though Rupert does have time spent playing an SMG, he gets completely bamboozled by the damage. Darkside runs him down. Now he's up to 7-3. Tied up 3 apiece in the search.
This is as nail-biting as it gets for a series. A 2-point difference in the hard point now. Back and forth trades in the search and destroy. Still Fisher dominating in that first blood factor. They're looking to keep that one true as Phantoms has an angle, but KB wins it. Opens up this A site for the plant, and Brack doesn't actually spot the bomb carrier, so there's a chance for Cootie to get it down.
Late stun comes through. Dark on 3 in a row. Wants to preserve this streak. No, Cootie finds him. First blood or second blood. It's all collapsing. Saints can just play trades, and it's orchestrated so wonderfully. No kill soon after. The Saints just bounce right back after Dark clutched the 1v1. We stay tied up in this map number 2. It is just a mere game of inches between these two teams off of being able to adapt off of what we're seeing. We've given up the burger 1v1. Now we've just started running at each other, trying to get inside a DVD fast or inside of Jenny's, which is the flavor for this round coming through for Fisher to try to tie things up once again. They've really been favoring the long con on trying to fight through Jenny's and the B bomb site itself. It's time they're trying to get inside A, see if they can get that pick.
St. Clair, I thought we were going to go for the hard read, but just a lot of presence in the courtyard. This time around, you don't have Phantoms playing over towards the straights, and St. Clair should note that. You can still see Phantoms looking to be a key component in this attack over towards the A site. He's going to be sitting in laundry. KB gonna get aggressive. He spots that the bomb's not there, but Brack's gonna see him, and first blood go towards the Falcons. Brack's looking to finesse his life, and it's long enough to allow his teammates into the mix. 1v3 for C-Wads. He's got a chance to maybe flank it out, but no, the chase from Fisher, and they keep it tied.
Yeah, just all of the pressure getting inside of the courtyard immediately. You called it. I mean, the Saints, they were attempting to go for the hard read across that B lane. Probably would have been a better outcome if they had just pushed all the way through the street side, the two players that were suggesting to do so. But KB got the information inside of the A-bomb. He saw at least 3 players through gens, saw some stuns come through, whatever, didn't have a trophy system, didn't want to hang around the joint. So he had to give it up, go back in towards that retake before even bomb was getting executed. That meant that Fisher could just play the trade game. Brack was just a mere pixel away from surviving. Now the Saints back over towards the offense. We're back to A again.
I like this call from Dark Side.
Maybe not.
Back over towards Elevator. No, it is going to be a B hit from the Saints for the first time. And it's been given up. They got the quick plant as well, and it's going to be planted for that back alley where Phantoms is residing. So quick reaction from Fisher. So they're looking to pin things down and give no escape for the post plan, and Phantoms has the lineup, paving the road for the rest of the team to follow up as well. But St. Clair have some bite, and they're not giving up just yet. 1 versus 2 for Rupert. Tags onto the first one, but he's low 22, and Darkside again just playing those margins in the natural cover, not taking too much on the approach, and finishing off that 1v2 clean.
Yeah, sweet execute. It's just unbeknownst to the Saints on the post. It was a 3v4, right? I mean, what is one of the things you're always going to be super concerned with if you're not playing on that 1v1 head glitch over by the truck watching the Burger Town exit? You have to watch the flank. Somebody could flank all the way through Jenny. Somebody could flank through DVD. Somebody could be on the long play all the way through Burger Town. So Rupert was watching that, and again, unbeknownst to the Saints, they had a 3v4 on the bomb site. Rupert a little bit too late to join in towards the fray. Once the information finally comes through, the bomb wasn't even planted on the correct side for him to try to clutch, let alone win that gunfight. Fisher now up on map point. They do it on offense.
St. Clair need to force this round 11 to keep this one alive. So it looks like this is going to be a hit through generators, but it's a pivot back from Fisher, and Cootie might be in trouble. However, instead, they've given it up. Phantoms goes down. First blood to the Saints, and Cootie's now in a position to potentially flank if this is a B attack, but Matt has hit the brakes on this play. It was all for Brack to try to push up over towards Burger, but he goes down, and this is falling apart.
Yeah, it really has. Gotta get in the clutch.
Oh, no.
How do you look? Darkside, stop shit. It almost looked like I thought he was dead too, man. Matt, 1v4, needs the ace, slides through. You're dead to rights here, sonny boy. Might be able to get the bomb planted, but doesn't look good at all. Get some damage on towards the first, trying to red dot chase. Maybe just running for his life. You won't get the kill on me. Bowl cut, Matt, if that is your real name. I just got this round won't dissipate, but I mean, what a good spring of events coming through from Cootie. I'm pretty sure that he saw him over by those fixtures, not only for the door exiting, but he had to have seen his heal leave, right? I like it was so close.
I wish that was the final kill.
Yeah, maybe, but like I don't know, man. It was just so interesting, and you're so right because Brack, he was the final play once Matt hit the brakes. That he had to get that kill inside of Burger to be able to watch that cross and be able to set up the, or I guess restructure the A execute once they wanted to go for the pivot over towards B. So Fisher effectively beat themselves in that round is what I'm saying. Saints just executed on it wonderfully. Now the Fisher Falcons got a round 11 offense.
And this has been incredibly back and forth in terms of who's going to win what. Both teams have won their attacks. Both teams have won defenses. So who knows how this one's going to go. Brass at the information, but he doesn't shoot. So knows the player's out to the dumpster. KP's got a second lease on life. And look at the line in the sand for St. Clair. They're almost giving up this A site to stop the B push.
They're double stacking too. Both Cootie and C-Wads are expecting for a B execute to come all the way through, but Volcut Mash is playing in the head glitch inside of A. Saints might just give up this A bomb site, maybe off of the wall bangs that Rupert might be able to find for himself. He's hearing stuns inside of the bomb site. Got a nade. To cook it up.
Oh, misses.
It just misses ever so widely. So now it's going to have to be a 4v4 retake for the Saints in round 11. Oh, gosh.
And they know it's going to be A. Who's going to be the first one to strike? KB has the information onto 2, so looks like they want to take Phantoms out of blue as quick as possible. As St. Clair looking to work around, but Fisher repositioning accordingly to this one. KB in the laundry. Does he expect a long flank from Phantoms? Well, it's Cootie to strike first for the first blood. Brack in the instant trade factor. Still for the exit, striding towards laundry, but Fisher have the time. St. Clair have the numbers. Can they get it done? Darkside waiting patiently outside. He's going to spot the player over towards the bomb. Phantoms takes down Roper. 2v2. Now down to 1. It's Cootie at the finish line. No time to defuse. Fisher clutch up in map 2 and tie us up.
Ooh, do they know it was ever so close? Defuse not going to be able to come through. Seawads, his head was on a swell. I was watching his arrow intently there at the end call, and he was thinking maybe somebody's going to spring inside of Jenny's. No, everybody was still playing on the backside of blue, like you were saying. Darkside, 11-5 there at the end. He was always the tip of the spear for a lot of these B pushes. And yeah, first blood's all over the place. But gosh, it almost felt like we never really saw a bomb being planted. And when we did, the team that typically got that bomb planted typically won the round. It's just a fickle beast is rewind, search, and destroy. If you try to play for the 4v4 retake inside of A, you saw it from Rupert's perspective. You best hope that that nade hits. If it does not go over the top and you don't find that damage, you're just kind of flying into the unknown. The cross from Burger Town being watched, good damage to be found. Just had to maybe ice up in that 3v2 with the numbers like you were talking about, Colin, just to try to isolate where that information was located at. I don't know, maybe they got a little bit too hesitant. They didn't have the information. They thought they had to clear something again. Nobody pushed through inside of blue for the Saints, and it allowed Fisher to be able to not only find the double kill required to be able to get numbers back on their side, but to be able to play for the side that the bomb is actually planted for. So really good search and destroy between these two teams. I will say that much. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a banger of a series to start off this playoff weekend. Guaranteed to go map 4 now.
Hey man, I mean, talk about how important the first bloods were for a map like that. 6-5 for the first bloods in favor of Fisher. And there was only one round each that they actually got the first blood and lost it. For St. Clair, it was the round 11. For Fisher, it was all the way back in round 5. And it really shows that those big moments for each team really paid off. I mean, Phantoms, the way that he was able to play that flank in round 11, back over towards the streets, get behind the play in laundry. And, you know, Seawads, the countless times that we saw him flanking that A site through Chenny's. It was incredible first 2 maps versus these two. And I feel like it would be criminal for it not to be tied 1-1 after they are done. So we got the Vault Control coming up very, very soon. We're going to give the players and ourselves a little bit of a break. And we'll be back with the CCL Championships very soon. Welcome back, everybody. A long break in between getting things set up for this game number 3. Seems we had a little bit of internet issues at the venue, but we have St. Clair Fisher hopping into the game 3, tied 1 apiece. One team looking for a break, Andy.
Yeah, they full disclose, this was no time torching outside of just network issue. I know some people think otherwise. Big 2-piece out of Matt, though, just off transition. Trying to set up a nice little bit of a spawn trap here on this Vault Control just to catch everybody back up here for the CCL LAN. This is all tied up 1 apiece with the Search and Destroy going to a round 11 in Fisher College's way. They're starting off this round 1 ever so wonderfully with a 4-life lead.
Yeah, and it wasn't just this team. Both series have been delayed, so you haven't missed out on any action. And well, it seems like Fisher haven't slowed down whatsoever after that map 2 win. Brax on 4-0 to kick things off in the control. A 5-life lead for Fisher, and the spawn trap was set up.
Couple players flipped all the way through. Both ends, if you really think about it. So players did touch at least B momentarily. That slowed out the clock down to 24 seconds. Seawad's still hanging around. He's got a nice little pinch. At least one more player inside of the lobby. That's Cootie. It's just messy stuff coming through from the Saints, but they're reaping a little bit of an overextension out of the Falcons. They're stalling out the clock at 25.
Yeah, and you can see that we don't have the progress up top, but already 2 segments in over towards A. You can see it on the mini-map down low. Soon enough, going to be working on that number 3. Bulk up Matt up top. See if he can find an angle. It's messy, but he gets it done. Cootie's still alive and active, and it looks like Darkside is just going to overextend past things. So 20 seconds for Saints to recover And hit A once again. Catwalk control, though. Darkside should have some eyes on it. Looks like A's been stopped. 3 down again. Third tick denied.
15 seconds remaining. 12v19. You could just play TDM and trades if you are Fisher. You got good posture through the upper hallways, through closed. A little bit of a desperate attempt. I mean, there's enough time to try to make this happen. All the Saints are about to be touching B.
Last chance. 2 down. 3 down. You
can
go
get
over
into
to A at this point. It's all 4. You can get double progress. You can finish this A zone. Second tick at B also getting worked on. And look at KB's positioning. He's got those spawns for Fisher all the way out to the back of P4. And suddenly, I can't believe this has fallen away. 3 down again. And St. Clair are so icy. I can't believe it.
I mean, throughout all of this round, we started off with an opening break that was won by the Falcons, right? Like, I'm not daydreaming. That was a very real thing that just happened.
Yeah.
And then they set up a spawn trap. A couple players were postured up at the top side of the castle building on top of this little balcony right here where you see Bull Cut Matt is. And because of that overextension, a couple players went all the way through the under part of the map. They were able to touch B. That first segment was locked on B quite some time ago. That the Saints, icy as it may be, were able to come up on top of the scrappiness to revert the pressure, knew that the last players were flanking from behind, got another 4 dead. They were down in lives realistically the entirety of that round. They had no business winning.
Not at all, but good old rug pull in the rounds, and looks like we are going to reset things. So imagine that round stays put, and St. Clair, the way they were able to bring things back miraculous again in the clutch, as that has been the case for a lot of the rounds in the search. Certainly the hard point from what we got as well, 250 to 248. And might I add, that was back-to-back hills where St. Clair pretty much full 60'd to make that happen. But into the control again, the St. Clair shenanigans, I'm going to say, is what we're kind of watching and trying to pull this one back. But at the same time, you kind of highlighted it well, Andy, is that maybe Fisher got a little too ahead of themselves in that round. Just a little too tunnel vision on those spawns.
Being told that there's some different ping fluctuating, but I'd imagine I agree that the spawns will stay. But regardless of ping, I mean, I've been casting online Call of Duty for quite some time now, Colin, so even take away the fact that we're playing on local here, it doesn't even matter. The simplistic of the fact is that the positional errors out from the Falcons are kind of inexcusable. And even when you are lagging that bad, you feel like those easier kills should have been coming their way. I mean, it's such a good trap that they had them in.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been a whole lot more simplistic. But to shout out the Saints the same way that we were kind of gassing them up back on the map one almost feels like an eon ago in one best of 5. Their fundamentals, when push comes to shove, are very, very good.
It's the series that never ends right now. It has been a long one between both of these two teams. And for Vault in general, I mean, I feel like that's the case with just a map like this when I've been watching Vault all year. And, you know, you can spawn trap forever, but if a team gets to be, and if you, even on the defensive side, go 4 down, it's not a promised defense on this map. I mean, you can certainly get spawn trapped the other way. And we kind of saw that in effect. At the end of that round. It's something that you always have to keep in the back of your mind when you're going into this map mode combo.
It's just interesting, right? You know, looking at the vetoes up top, Fisher got rid of the Hacienda control. So the St. Clair, they had the option to go towards the protocol or the vault, realistically. Thinking about the veto process, and they opted in for the vault control, which is pretty interesting to me because I feel like that protocol may have been better. I mean, albeit that Darkside was kind of getting away with a highway robbery on Rewind. I go back towards that map number 1 that I felt like that Cootie would have been able to be a whole lot more involved, but apparently what I think doesn't even matter because the ball control, at least from that opening round, was very good from the Saints when everything was kind of going haywire, that the SMGs were the ones that they were able to rely on. Cootie C-Wads were able to get in a very annoying position. And the map knowledge is there. I'm just surprised by the execution of the vetoes, all off of knowing these players and casting their careers for a handful of years now.
Yeah, might I remind everybody, this is only game 1 of 3 for the stream that we're going to be seeing across today. 3 in a row. We'll have the Saints on our main stream for us to watch through these group stages, and we can see exactly who has traveled all the way out to San Antonio to compete. And for it being a round robin across it, everybody's going to have a chance to play each other. And I have to say, Andy, when I'm looking across these teams, I think the biggest story has to be this Oklahoma Christian team because they have the most experience playing together, at least as a team in CCL. And I feel like the squad has always been the bridesmaid and never the bride in terms of walking away as a champion in collegiate Call of Duty. They've always been like right there, lined up with everybody else, but we've never seen them break through that hump.
Yep, I feel like you could probably say that about like Cruz's entire career as a Call of Duty competitor. If you really think about it, like throughout all of like Vanguard, MW2, MW3, Oklahoma Christian have always been right there. Same thing for Cruz, has always been regarded as a very top amateur. Frosty on top of Gus. Proda has always been highly regarded in the search and destroy. This team has the mixture to be able to be a championship team in the way that the scoreline is at least suggesting. They came to this tournament to be able to win the entire thing. They are very polished, at the very least, all off of just looking at the map stats. I could all just be throwing out Maven stats. I'm not too sure, but I think that this is finally the time. I have never seen Oklahoma Christian looking this good, especially all off of tournament bias as well.
This is all off of two. Gus hasn't really played this year, so it's like he's stepping into this roster.
Though? I mean, like, I feel like he's still been competing in the 2Ks every so often when he has
every once
the chance.
in a while.
I mean, yeah, Gus has been on his grind, but like he always still plays the toy, I'm sure.
He doesn't scrim is kind of what I'm going into, and you don't really see that extra practice that everybody else has. I think the biggest thing that really shocks me so far in the games that we've had has been this Northwood team down 0-2 against Oklahoma Christian. I was kind of expecting a little bit more, especially, when you look at a lineup like that. And this Northwood team coming together surely gives, I'd say, a little bit of reminiscence over to the back-to-back Northwood school that we had years ago at the top of CCL. And I was excited. I am excited to see them put it all together. But, everything could just be down to the fact of you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You still need a little bit of time to wake up for some of these players. We got lots of Call of Duty to play this weekend, and it seems like we still have a little bit of time before we get back into this map 3. So once again, I just want to apologize for the breaks that we have. As soon as we have things ready and settled inside of the venue, we will get this game 3 underway as quick as possible. So stay tuned. You're watching the College COD Championships. We'll be back soon. Oh, I thought we were never going to get back, guys. I was holding my breath the entire time. But we are into the CCL Championships once again after what has been a very, very long extended break for both of these teams. Just as a reminder and a recap in case you forgot, St. Clair wins the hard point 250 to 248. Fisher, they win the search and destroy 6-5. Both games super close, and then it comes to the control. We got Vault. And I actually have a brand new caster with me as well because Proper had to go. We got Zepp in the booth. Zepp, how you doing?
Doing absolutely fantastic. Only hoping that I can fill the shoes of Prosper here today, trying to get through this series, which has been, as you said, elongated due to the break. And really unfortunate that we had to have such a break, considering, as you said, how close the series have been up until that point. Really, really competitive. Hopefully it stays that way as we're well through this round number 1 here for the control map number 3. Pretty even again, as it seems to be through these teams. 22 to 22 on the lies, making progress at B. First tick finally gone, so trying to get that B point done early, which might give them a little bit of an advantage. I mean, ticks are going to play a huge part, I think, between these two sides.
Oh, it is, considering that St. Clair have 6 of them. They took the offensive win in round 1, so Fisher now have to answer back with an offense of their own if they want this to go the distance in map 3 and potentially get it, as Rupert's going to be on the chase. No idea. Brack is going to have his back turned. 23 seconds to get either A or B, and you are going to see Phantoms touch down for a second, but for Fisher, they're struggling to just get anywhere really on the map. It has to be this A zone, it feels.
Yeah, running out of time to get on, so they need to make it count as they go through with the push. But overall, they haven't really been able to establish any presence, which you have to give so much credit to the defense for. They've just been constantly picking them off, not letting them get any real damage, getting into any power position. Yes, a couple of ticks through a B, and in saying that, they actually have gotten the stack towards it now, nearly gotten that 3rd tick done. Of course, the flank should come through to stop that, but getting closer on that B than maybe they should have, and that's given them an opening now at A to potentially cap this one at the death. Definitely still have a chance to sneak in this round from this position.
Brass got the Jackal, and he's got help. 2 down. Fisher not done, and If you remember, if you've been here long enough, it was St. Clair who barely edged out with that offense after being spawn trapped for nearly 2 whole minutes. But the time's going to go down. A gets secured, and now it's only one segment at B that you need for Fisher, but it's an 11v5. And that's the main issue. And if you take a look down into the bottom left of your screen, you can see that there is a green arrow in C-Wads who is just being an absolute problem over towards bottom gold. So he's on 3 in a row. Finally going to get cut down. There's only 2 members left for Fisher.
Yeah, Fisher done a great job of bouncing between the A and the B, but ultimately losing too much lives in the process means there's virtually no chance for them at this point. 1 versus 8 this round, this map looking very much like it's gotten away from them here, unfortunately enough. But again, it could turn. Just because St. Clair Saints are about to go 2-0 up on this map by no means that they are through. I mean, we've seen between these two sides, it just needs to turn at any point. One wave of gunfights could completely turn the map on its head. Both of these teams know that they have to remain locked in against each other at all times.
And honestly, Zep, it's hard to be locked when you've just been sitting for 4 or 5 hours trying to figure out when you're going to play next. Both of these two teams, I'm sure they're doing their best to stay warm between, the break that we did have. But coming into this, this is going to be a real test onto who can pick up the sticks and shoot better. And for Fisher, I mean, it took them a little bit in that round to get going, but once they did, you can look at this as a potential reverse sweep in the control. You need to steal away that offense, obviously, but it starts with this defense being picture perfect.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, and you make a great point about the not being able to play for a while, is that you're kind of getting warm again, right? You have to get warm again. You're restarting again in a sense, and it's how quick you can re-find the mark that you had made before going into the break. And unfortunately for Fisher Esports, it just looks like St. Clair Saints have maybe not started where they left off, right? Of course, with such a long break, they need to recuperate a little bit themselves. But in terms of who's getting up to pace, it definitely seems to be them hitting the mark quicker. 29 to 27, that A point done already. Fisher Esports are really being caught in the back foot here, and you have to give St. Clair Saints a lot of credit for capitalizing on that, right? None of us want to see restarts, none of us want to see stoppages, but ultimately the cards fall as they lie. You have to deal with what's given in front of you, the hand that you're dealt, and so far St. Clair Saints seem to be taking advantage of it.
It seems like they are. A couple of the members in the spawn of St. Clair dealt with, and you look in the opposite end, St. Clair residing in the spawn of Fisher. So now as you lose your fights onto the one side, you have to deal with them as soon as you spawn up. C-Wads 10 and 5 into this round. You can see already progress over towards B, and another one that's going to be slipping through. It's Cootie in the backline. Phantoms, big heads up play to catch that, and it's all eyes forward now for the Falcons. They're just trying to break through the spawn.
Yeah, Fisher need to try and hold on from this point, trying to regain a little bit of control, but it has to be said, I think still on the back foot here. St. Clair Saints will be happy with the life count and the time that they have to make progress towards this B, and with 1 tick gone already, again, all they need is 1 wave, force those spawns out the wrong side, and they can lock in around this point. But Fisher Esports are doing a good job here of, even when they're dropping, it's being quite staggered. They're not pushing up overly quick. They're not getting caught dropping a lot at the same time. It's one-on-ones. They're playing the clock, and they're trying to slow the pace of this game down. But as St. Clair Saints now try to turtle up to get pushed in, that's a couple of huge kills. Now they might be able to make the final killing blow.
Here's the stack. You get the flank, but Bull Cup Matt goes down. So 3 members on, and Phantom, so you got to jump out this window. You just don't have time to wait. St. Clair captured the B zone. They take the control 3-0. And after what has been 4 long hours of waiting, Saints take the map number 3, so up 2-1 in the series.
And they just looked far stronger off the restart, it has to be said. They seem to be just playing at another level, and Fisher Esports, you give them credit where credit's due. They were maintaining a good defense from time to time, but St. Clair Saints were just moving at a slightly quicker pace, just linking arms, getting together, and actually making plays and pushes together, right? They weren't finding themselves in positions where they were a bit staggered off left and right, playing slow, trying to get warm, trying to find their shot. They just very much turtled up together and made pushes together and forced Fisher Esports off key positions. They were catching them on a lot of singular gunfights and just not really giving them a moment to breathe. Whereas You know, you go across the other side when Fisher Esports themselves had an offense, they were never really able to get any control whatsoever. They never moved up past that A point. And even though they got a couple of ticks on B, again, it was a case of moments here and there, but never being able to make a permanent dent and, as the title goes of the mode, control the map. And I think St. Clair Saints winning that convincingly enough, because at the end of the day, they were just able to control all the lanes far better than their opposition.
Just that, I mean, it reflects in the score that we see for that Vault control. Just as a reminder, because we shaped it up so long ago, last time St. Clair and Fisher met, Fisher were the ones to take that Vault control in a 3-1 fashion. So coming back like this, St. Clair definitely feeling good. Heading into this Rewind Hardpoint up next, we can dive back into the statistics for this series. And I think for Rewind just in general, it's going to be very new for both sides. Obviously, you know, it's down to who's been keeping up with their scrims these past couple weeks. But I think I'm excited for this one for Fisher, and being that you look back to the Rewind Search and Destroy, and there's a lot of success found from that AR line of Phantoms and Brack.
Absolutely, and be really fascinating to see as we actually do have a look at the series stats as well. As he said, very little reps on the map overall. St. Clair Saints going perfect on it with 3 wins. Fisher Esports perfect, but only with 1. Could those lack of reps count for much? I mean, I guess time will tell. I mean, again, you go back to the Rewind Search and Destroy, as you point out, Fisher Esports managing to take a map there, albeit having less reps. If they're finding the positives on those angles, holding down those AR lanes, it's something that kind of rings true for a lot of the modes, really. It's not something that's going to change. It's kind of similar to Vault in that regards, where a lot of the key points in the map remain key points throughout multiple different modes. So if you're feeling confident with the AR locking down those lanes, then you're going to be able to transition a lot of those over to this respawn.
With a championship comes a couple new toys for us to play around with. A player matchup heading into this respawn map for KB and Brack. And you remember back all the way hours and hours ago, you dig deep into your mind to think about that Skyline hardpoint that we saw. It was Brack who ignited the flame for this Fisher Falcons roster, finally having that 8 spree that brings him to positive, that breaks that P4, sets up for the P1 hold, and actually flips the lead in favor of Fisher back into the 3rd set of rotations. And on the other side, battling against KB, who was, you know, not only putting in the damage, fighting kills, but he was getting time behind that as well, soaking up all that hardpoint time that we did see in your P3s and your P2s, and doing a great job when the team needed him to jump out of that hill and start to find some space for this team. That's going to be an important battle for Rewind Hardpoint, considering that, you know, it's massive, Zap, when it comes down to those lanes where the ARs are going to reign true, and it's going to be very, I'd say, important in where we're looking at those subs to play off the back of an AR line or an AR matchup like KB versus Brack.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, the ARs are kind of locking down the lanes and opening up those angles, and they open up those angles for the subs to be able to get in and really do the damage between those lanes, right? So that has a lot of similarities there to Protocol, for instance, you know, where if you're a sub and you're getting absolutely locked down in every single lane by an AR and you're just getting completely dominated on the map, that midsection is just not crossable at all, which means you have to go underground. And on this map, you don't really have the luxury of going underground. You can only really stay in the building. So you talk about some of these key points that remain slightly wider. I mean, P2, P3, for example, even P4 in terms of how you rotate around to it. So many of those lanes are so revolved around the AR lanes that hold them to actually get towards the point. If the sub isn't able to get in there, they're going to have no presence, no force, at which point they're going to have to rely completely on the rotations. The only backup play that you're going to have is that if you're an AR or you're a sub and you're finding that your team isn't able to get full control around the lanes of a point, you gotta reset early. You gotta try and get rotated and play that regain on the next point, because if you start finding yourself not being able to break through lanes that are being locked down, on top of not being first to rotate to the new points, then you can find a map like Rewind Hardpoint going away from you very quickly. The only point in the whole game, in the whole map, where you could think that the subs might have a chance to kind of get in and get a little bit mixy off their own merit is P5, and even at that, the ARs can still have a lot of presence there.
As we get these players lobbied up for this Rewind Hardpoint and get into it as quick as possible, just as a reminder that, you know, we got 2 other teams on the other side who were playing on our side stream, the B stream. There's Oklahoma Christian taking a 3-0 over the likes of Northwood Esports. So still waiting on getting done with, or getting these team players into that map 4 for the Rewind Hardpoints, as I'm sure we are working tirelessly to get this one going. But just an overall look at the standings that we have right here. Oklahoma Christian 3-0 sweep Northwood. They're going to be topping off that leaderboard inside of our round robin. 1-0, 100% map win percentage, 100% series win percentage. They're going to be feeling good off of coming into LAN and looking as polished as they do with this lineup. For Northwood on the other side, very, very surprised, Zep, on the results from that game. I expect a lot from this Northwood roster, and I think that, you know, it does show what Oklahoma Christian are bringing, but I don't think this is what we are expecting to get for the rest of the weekend from Northwood.
Absolutely not. And I think, again, it just comes back to the LAN environment, right? A lot of teams are able to do things online. They kind of feel comfortable in their own environment, but when they have to go on site and get things done, you're going to see what teams are really made of as we get into map number 4 here. St. Clair Saints trying to get control of the point early, but Skywalker getting taken out rather quickly. Fisher Esports on the point, making a statement early on, which is exactly what they need to do. They had their chance to get warmed up on map 3. They had to drop that map in doing so. They have absolutely no leeway to be able to start slow here.
Well, Cootie on screen slides into that first hill. Fisher getting the good time off of it. 21 uncontested, and still lots more for the rotation over towards P2. Somebody's going to be trying to hit through that closet. It's Seawads on the slide. He gets a double kill, takes Fisher out, but these Saints members, they have to start looking at the rotation. It looks like KB is going to be trying that through streets.
Yeah, KB, the one to try and play that angle. Huge kill towards the back as well, and that's a massive wave. St. Clair Saints playing to break through. New Fisher Esports backed off early to try and play that P2, and now it's looking like it's not going to work for them. You got 3 pushing around the back. Positional plays are huge here, but you do have Matt sitting as deep as possibly can and picking up a massive wave of kills himself. And all of a sudden, Fisher Esports have rescued the back spawn for P2 at a moment where it looked increasingly dire, as they now look set to rack up the time. St. Clair Saints, they put a lot of their effort into pushing through that P1 to try and break the P2 spawns rather than soaking up the scrap time. So a gamble that didn't pay off for them. Now Fisher Esports need to capitalize and stretch a bit of a lead.
Goody looking for the break. Slides out immediately, dealt with, and it looks like you're walking into the blender right now for the Saints. Matt's going to hit an angle on the flank, and it looks like Fisher trying to work this rotation over towards 3 as well. You see a battle happening over towards the courtyard. A couple spawn outs for the Falcons. Now they're chasing to see if they can get Rupert down. You have Brack to win that fight. Over to P3 with Fisher holding nearly a 40-point lead off of the first 2 hills.
Fisher Esports have had far more control of this map so far, the way that they've been rotating, the angles they've been holding. St. Clair Saints have been breaking maybe 1 or 2 at a time with those subs, looking like they could present danger, but Fisher do a great job of just turtling up and keeping things safe and never letting that crucial 3rd or 4th drop. But that might be the case here. St. Clair Saints pick up the 3, meaning they can hold from the front, start working towards the back, as you see Seawads as well trying to get aggressive, going to get pushed up onto Phantoms as St. Clair Saints just run through from the front, but the spawn still at the back means Rupert Skywalker is going to be playing through that P4 just to try and pick up an annoying angle to get around the side. But Fisher Esports still having crucial P4 spawns, still have a chance, especially with Brack getting a nice 2 off that P3.
Yeah, St. Clair's struggling right now, and it comes down to that hair lineup in the head-to-head that we were looking at. KB 5-9, Brack 10-5, having a great map for the Falcons. So on rotation to P4, Fisher still holding those back spawns. St. Clair gonna get what they can on this old hill and look for a quick break together with all 4 up. Darkside first to fall. Quick trade there though. It's Seawads though to put a couple of kills together for the Saints. 3 down, and now those spawns break. They can look to get Bullcut Matt out of this hill and start to take over.
Bullcut Matt has had a terrific game on the kills so far, just getting in with the sub, constantly being a nuisance off the back of Brack as well with that AR holding the lanes. Again, this is what we talked about coming into the game. Brack with that AR going to be holding the lanes and then having a sub being able to go in and capitalize on those lanes being held, and Matt has been able to do so, and that's been a huge difference maker. And it feels like at this moment in time, everything that St. Clair Saints gets, they're having to work incredibly hard for. They're having to push through, just about get a break and get a few seconds. Fisher Esports have done a great job at recovering whenever they've looked like they've been in danger. Even when they get finally pushed out of a point, it feels like they have it back within 10-15 seconds almost every time.
All this P4-5 rotation. St. Clair in. This is where they can start to look to cut this lead down. A lot of time can be gained over here. KB looking for Phantoms, but he's taken down. This is the first leg to fall for the Saints. As you can see, Fisher looking to collapse on this now all together. Everybody but a team kill from Brack. Swaps the pistol, keeping things mixy. Allows an angle for Darkside to break. And Fisher find their way in, stop the clock for St. Clair for a moment. Saints able to battle their way back through this one, but how long can they hold? Especially when Phantoms is shooting like that, swaps to the secondary, and he gets all three. This is a very scrappy hill, which Fisher, they are okay with in their lead.
We're starting to see a little bit of a KD disparity on display here, which is leading to what you're seeing, really. St. Clair Saints, they rotate, they have an opportunity for a good hold, and then have just a player like Phantoms come through, get the 3, and get the break. And what you're seeing a 13, 12, 15, and 8 in comparison to a 10, 10, 9, and 12. That's a difference maker between these two sides who are so tactically adept as well. That is going to be huge. Fisher Esports, they're not just picking up these kills for the sake of them. They're not pushing out. They're not being overzealous. All of these kills is just feeding into the objective. They're playing really tight and well together as a team. And even in the sections where they don't have map control, where they don't have the rotations, they just get together and get it broke. And it's a wonder to behold, to be honest. 16 and 13 as well from Brack. A terrific KD to have. Huge for the numbers, as you pointed out. That battle between Brack and KB was going to be huge in determining who was going to come away with this map. And so far, with the key player on one side overperforming compared to the other, seems to be the difference maker so far.
And we ask ourselves for Saints, like, who's going to be that guy? I mean, hill time for Rupert and Seawad, sub 20 seconds. So somebody's got to step up in that factor. Somebody's got to take the reins for the Saints. Or we can see Fisher quickly pushing this one into a map 5 for this first series of the day. Seawad's doing a good job at cleaning up at old. That one's the rotation. St. Clair, they have the back spawns, but you can see the Falcons are looking to go for that right away. In through yellow. Darkside leading this charge. Loses his wingman. And Phantoms drops as well. So Saints might be looking good to stake their claim on this hill.
Yeah, and all of a sudden we are seeing a bit of a swing in the KD through the P1 to P2. It's not quite as stark as it was, and instantly off the back of that, we are seeing this time be reduced as St. Clair Saints are getting the hold. They do have the spawns, and it is Fisher trying to play the break, but nowhere near at the moment is the Saints painting the kill feed green. But Brack won't want to try and get the push. Brack and Matt, who else? The two that have been responsible for so many breaks for Fisher, breaking in again, trying to hold from front, at least stagger this time. But you're absolutely right in what you were pointing out with Rupert Skywalker and Seawad. Seawad was under 20 seconds as well on the time, and playing as subs as well on a map where you're not really going to be doing much pushing out of a hill. You'd think the subs would just be turtling in on the time once they're able to get it. So the fact that it's the AR players who are relying a lot on time is a little bit strange, to say the least. But whatever they're doing on the side of Fisher Esports at least seems to be working in the holes that they get, because once again they've rotated well. You look at the positioning on the map, it is wide from them, but they're keeping every lane locked down. And Matt also just trying to guarantee the spawns as well through the back, because Fisher Esports recognize a good solid P4 hold after this P3, and this game is virtually theirs.
181 to 140. And you're in now, still 30 seconds to fight for off of this P3 hill. You can see Rupert trying to maneuver his way over to P4 early, but he's going to be spotted by Darkside, and everybody looking to push out of this one gets caught. So Fisher doing great at these rotations on rewind. It is what nets them this lead that we're seeing now. And St. Clair can only hope that they can get this one fast, but look at this position from Darkside.
St. Clair Saints have done a terrific job here pulling this one back, but now is the big task of being able to push through on the break. So far not getting anywhere near the spawns, dropping early as well. Phantoms with a big 2, and St. Clair Saints in huge trouble here. And it has been very interesting to see in this map, because we did talk about Skywalker and Seawad not getting any time, but you also look at Matt and Phantom as well, virtually no time. Both of these teams sort of going for a 2-2 split in terms of who's playing to slay, holding the angles, and who's playing to hold the time. But seems to be working well for one team more so than the other. But Cody, it has to be said as well, 24 and 18 with 1 minute 20 in hill as well. He's been the one kind of closely contesting Brack, it has to be said, in terms of trying to get up to those sort of game-changing numbers. But it's not quite been enough. But it has to be said, this scrap could be huge to them as well. Darkside is going to go in and try and break for that scrap. Or actually, I think is just going to leave it in the end up. A huge fight now down at P5. St. Clair Saints, they still have a chance to come back into this one here as they are rotated first, but they need to hold it a little bit better than last time.
Well, here's KB. On 3 in a row, Cootie on 4 in a row. Bait and switch out, and St. Clair are in. 20-second difference for this hill, and this is where things can start to slip out of the hands of the Falcons if they're not careful. So they wait, they group up, they hit this one as a full 4 squad, but it is opening kills for St. Clair, immediately met by 2 out of Bracken. Darkside outside, Darkside pushes towards KB, and Fisher is only 25 seconds away from this win. They can get it done here, there's still lots of time.
Still have the time to get it done. Again, just key kills at the right moments, coming in with 2 pieces. But then St. Clair Saints starting to rescue some time themselves, starting to have some big moments. A lot of the big moments have been going towards the side of Fisher throughout this map, but that is beginning to turn. We're seeing the Saints have some key 2 pieces or 3 pieces or 3 downs that they just weren't getting in the first half of this hard point. But will it be too little too late? Is that as a massive 3 for Fisher, who are going to play now on that P1 with
This is the rotation.
Control.
10 seconds left in St. Clair. They need to find a break. Phantoms inside Laundry. He's going to be cutting off those reinforcing players. Darkside to inside, winning his fights. Everybody from Fisher popping off, looking to send this one the distance in game 5 for the series. Rewind goes to the Falcons, and St. Clair are shut out for this hard point. I mean, Zap, the way that we're looking for the series, we knew this one was going game 5.
Absolutely. From map number 1, you always sensed it was going that way. And, you know, the restart threw things up in the air a little bit. We were wondering how it was going to fare out, but like the stats didn't lie, to be honest. We saw a side in Fisher Esports that were more confident playing on Rewind, and that transition from the Search and Destroy over to the hard point immaculately. For the most part, they were the better team in that map. But granted, St. Clair Saints were able to pull it back a lot closer than he would have liked, considering the fact that they were arguably the second best team for well over 2/3 of that game, but it just shows the fight that they have and the fact that you can never take your foot off the gas pedal. But now going into a map number 5, a Hacienda Search and Destroy, this really throws a spanner in the works of how these teams will play. Again, Fisher Esports winning the previous Search and Destroy, but with it going all the way to around 11, and then looking at the scores throughout, except for that Vault Control, you have scores that are neck and neck throughout this entire series. So I have to say, I think this is one that we'd be correct in saying is near impossible to call.
And even that Vault Control, I mean, I want to put an asterisk on that game because you're coming into a series after being iced for a couple hours. It's unfortunate to say for, you know, both of these 2 teams, but that is only so skewed because it's whoever's got the hot seat coming into it, whoever's feeling the best for that one. And St. Clair, after taking that round 1 earlier on today for that Vault Control, they just rode that high on the way back. So throughout this entire series, both teams have been feeling great in their own respective maps. I think for Fisher on the rewinds, I was expecting them to be the better team with the dominance that we got from the subs, but we go into a Hacienda and this will blend a little bit of the both together.
Absolutely. It's kind of a best of both worlds for both of these teams now, where it just should be an evenly matched affair. And yeah, I mean, it really makes you curious to how much the restart affected Fisher Esports, to the point of where if we had gotten that control, if we had gotten that map number 3 with no restarts, could we have seen Fisher Esports take this 1-3-1 and us not even go to a map number 5? Or did we see just things go as they should? I mean, there's so many if, buts, and maybes now when it comes to how this series played out, especially as you said, most of the series is so close except for the Vault Control, and that restart does play a huge part. And just going into the Search and Destroy, I mean, these teams that have had a long time now to see, or to think at least, about how to play Search and Destroy against each other, right? I mean, they've literally had hours to sit and dwell on this, right? They got to play that Search and Destroy. They got 1 round of control. We had to go to a restart that, you know, where we ended up waiting 4 hours, and that's a lot of time to contemplate your opposition and to try and just get into their mindset and think about what they are going to do, how you're going to play to combat that. And yeah, just a Search Destroy, I think at this stage when it's been so close, you're looking at every little detail because it really comes down to each individual kill. It comes down to each individual round, right? You're never in this position against an opposition like this at a LAN event, kind of being lax for a round, thinking, you can leave one. Even if you're like 4-2 up, 5-2 up, you're never in a position where, we could throw around, we could try something. Everything that you try, everything that you practice throughout a course of a season is for moments like this. So you cannot afford for a single second, a single push to not be completely locked in. And I wonder if that extra time to contemplate, if it went this far, how you would play in a search and destroy of this magnitude, if that will be on the minds of players at this point.
I'm sure it is. And just thinking back to those who watched the search and destroy, the First Bloods were a big factor for either team. Fisher winning in that column 6-5, just barely. And only 2 rounds in the entire 11 that we did see back on Rewind were won by one team, and then the round went to the other. So First Bloods played a big part back on Rewind. I imagine for Hacienda it's going to be the same, especially considering that for the attacking side, First Blood can be the difference between having to pivot from site to site or actually getting that quick plant off. And a lot of teams do struggle when they're losing the attacking side First Bloods. So you look to both teams to kind of step up in that category, keep that consistency going. And if it is going as back and forth as it did back on Rewinds, well, this could be literally the closest series we have seen in CCL all year long, Zep.
And what a series to have as well, to have one of that magnitude on the very first game of the evening as well. Just goes to show the level of the teams that are competing and how entertaining that the college COD scene can be, with map number 5 about to get into it here. I think a large part of this map as well will be establishing momentum. I mean, a lot of the time we do see back and forths. We see it swing where it's a primarily defensive win, primarily offensive win. I think the first team that's able to find themselves getting a defensive and offensive win back-to-back 2 rounds in a row, that's going to be huge for getting into the right mindset and just getting into the psyche of the other team. Because a lot of what I see in a lot of these games when they get so close is that some teams will be like, okay, we've been winning every offense, we've been winning every defense. When it gets to 2-3 rounds in, you start to go, we cannot lose this one because that's going to be the game changer. And if you drop that one, not that the heads drop, but you suddenly to get it into your mind that you can be beat, and that's when the negative mindset starts to creep in, right? So I think for a team to be able to get in early on, maybe take 2 rounds in a row to begin with, that could be a massive change up for how this series go. But then again, arguably, these teams, you look at the levels they are. Top level teams. They're used to being in these pressure positions. I mean, I don't know what your opinion would be on it. If you go 2-3 rounds deep, if you're a team like this, are you just as confident to be like, all right, we've lost 2-3 rounds, but we know we have the ability to get 2-3 rounds back?
I think that for St. Clair, you're kind of obviously looking for a way to enable CWADs to have the same effect that he did back on that Rewind, Search, and Destroy. A lot of the rounds that they won came down to a really well-timed flank from CWADs to get in there. Everybody else holds the attention of Fisher, and he is the one to put the finishing touches for the round. For Fisher on the other side, it really comes down to what we see from Phantoms and Brack, because they've been the most consistent throughout the lineup in this entire series. You think back to the Search and Destroy on Rewind, you look to the Hardpoint on Rewind as well, and it's the AR lines that are opening up those angles for Darkside to have that battle against CCWADs when it comes down to those SMGs, allowing him to roam free throughout the map, catch those timings on the SMG, and do it without really any danger. So if you look at Fisher and Brack is continuing to have a series like he has been, it's going to make Darkside, it's going to make his job even easier to play through a map like Hacienda. And so you look at St. Clair, I mean, they have battles that they need to win, and they need to be able to enable their subs to be the playmakers that we know they can be.
I think that's a really good point, you know, and I think that then we can look at the fact that the First Blood's going to be huge in a lot of these rounds, right? Because we know where the ARs are going to go a lot of the time. They're going to either play out towards Rock, they're going to hold one of the lanes in mid, they're going to go out towards the A bomb site. It's all going to be about who's going to be able to get into that lane first, get that first kill, and then all of a sudden free up that lane for the sub to go through or make the opposition stretch. If you can make the opposition stretch in a Search and Destroy, that just gives so many positions for the subs to be able to get in, seep in between the lines and cause a lot of damage. So I think you're absolutely right. I think that how the ARs play, where they post up, if they're able to get that first kill, is going to be huge. And it is just a case of nullifying the subs. And, you know, you wonder about the pushes onto bomb sites, how aggressive they're going to be off the back of that, right? I mean, you take that B bomb site off Rock, for example. Are we going to see offensive sides try and get super aggressive up onto those points, get those plants early, and then post up the ARs? Or are we going to see kind of a bit more of a defensive play even on the offensive side, right? Are we going to see people hold their bottle, wait for these lanes to be probed and prodded, and then go for the picks? And once that lane is opened, either make the flood, make the rotation back around to another point. It is just a case of whether it's going to be offensively played, defensively played, and how teams then adjust to that. I think adjustability is going to be huge as well, and being like, okay, we've seen how you're going to do it. We've seen how you're playing very far back in defense, or you're playing really aggressive in offense. We're going to be able to match that. And even if you take a round from us playing like that, you're not taking the next round by doing that. If you're a team that loves just being able to push on to be aggressively, it's going to work for you once maybe, but only once, because we're going to know how to counteract it.
Yeah, and you know, for both of these two teams, this game 5 is going to be very important in dictating, you know, where you go in the seeding for that bracket later on, or for tomorrow. For the rest of this tournament, it's a big one to kick off your day. And for Oklahoma Christian, who are waiting for you, I'm sure both of those teams want this one to wrap up as quick as possible. And we want it as well, but seems like we're still catching up on some shaders. So we're going to get these players lobbied up fast, and we'll be back with more CCL, I promise. You know, I was a little bit scared that I promised you guys that we'd be back soon, but I wasn't wrong. We got the game 5. We got St. Clair and Fisher both going into it already. Fisher going for the quick B plans up.
Yeah, it looks like the aggressive play is going to be what they go for early on, just getting that bomb down, then trying to get posted up to St. Clair Saints now to try and get for the break, and it looks like they're going to be really pushing heavy on this mid with Ruben Skywalker holding the window.
Gotta go fast. Darkseid on the flank, and it looks like Cootie's gonna be the one to make the play with Seawas. The subs break through, and they even clean house after it. Cootie with the 3-piece. Reminiscent to that map 2 that we saw. St. Clair just able to dial it up to 10 in an instance.
Yeah, what a round from them. What a defensive break. Again, just showing what they can do on the aggression, playing through mid, getting the subs out, and then just covering each other's lanes perfectly and executing the pinch as well from the window side. I mean, what an answer. What a statement to put down on a round 1, getting straight in with the break so confidently.
That's what I expect from St. Clair. Just somebody to be the one to hit go. And you don't want to sit there waiting too long because you allow for something like a flank to come into effect. Instead, they just barrel out on the site altogether and win their fights like we know these subs can do. So swapping sides, let's see where their attack brings them.
I mean, if they can get a strong, aggressive push on the offense as well, then they're really putting down a statement of Fisher Esports. But of course, they're going to try and play back in the defensive, try not to get dropped on the first blood. The peak coming through mid, not really going for the plant though as of yet.
That's good info from Cootie. You know, there's a player down mid, and you know, there's a potential to even get into secret, but nobody's going to be watching it, and Darkseid just walks in for free, and he gets out with a kill. So St. Clair losing that first blood battle. Looks like they're going to pivot this one to the B site.
Yeah, this is a great rotation here, and Fisher Esports have been slow to read it. If St. Clair Saints can get in and get this bomb planted quick, they will have the site. However, Fisher Esports have the read, now going to make the challenge.
Yeah, they know the jig is up, and I like this call immediately. You send 2 people far, you look to box them in. You have all angles covered for the Falcons. They want it quickly. Answer this one back, but KB covers their tracks, and Brock loses the fight on site, so things quickly turning around. St. Clair can never be counted out.
St. Clair, a great round 2 from them so far, playing this S&D immaculately. The way they're moving around the map, the information, the reads that they're getting, just seemingly next level at the moment as Fisher Esports. They're going to have to do a lot if they want to catch back up here. But well on St. Clair Saints, getting a nice 2 first rounds as we talked about, needing to get this early on to get into the mindset, to get into the heads of the opposition.
It's just such a heads-up call there from KB2 to be the one to watch that flank angle. It was something that was not really all there back in map 2. Plenty of flanks coming out from Darkseid unchecked, and this time it looks like St. Clair buttoning it up immediately for this Hasi into S&D. Rupert in trouble. He goes down. Darkseid, yeah, gets caught in the trade. And it looks like Saints are trying to get a play here. Cootie on the jump up, and 5 in a row for Cootie.
Cootie absolutely popping off here in this S&D so far. A little bit more of a mixy round, but one still going in the favor of the Saints. RCXD in hand, maybe going to try and play for that Hellstorm as Fisher Esports just going to slow things down and try and play for the pick.
How do you dig yourself out of this grave? Because St. Clair have been the ones to walk on water. It hasn't really been Falcons. It has been uniformed attacks that successfully win this one, and it looks like enough time has passed to make that play over towards B and get this bomb down. Nobody here from St. Clair to stop them.
Yeah, St. Clair didn't have the read, but mind you, we saw how well they were able to break the last time around in a 4v4, so I'm sure they're feeling confident in their retake ability from here.
No info off the nade. So the bomb goes down, and it's surprising. So St. Clair now have to formulate a plan for this retake. All three members looking to hit this one together, and Cootie going to infest this RCXD. Phantom's going to take this opportunity to start to flank through Office, but it's being watched, and C1's doing his due diligence, watching those flanks and keeping St. Clair so comfortable.
This is just next level from St. Clair at the moment. I mean, 3 rounds in, looking confident in almost every single gunfight they take. I mean, Fisher Esports had to put in so much work to get rotated around, to get that plan, to get as far as they did in this round, and then almost instantly dismantled when the push comes through. St. Clair, they're just at a whole nother level and pace on this one.
Yeah, I mean, Fisher look a little lost in terms of what to do for this map, and you see the idea there, especially back in that second round that I think they should have won, but a lot of these gunfights just easily being dealt with by St. Clair, especially in the mid to late game. For the retakes, for the post plants, this is a must-win round for Fisher.
St. Clair, are they going to get even more confident on the aggression, try and get up on the plant A early? They are being watched as Skywalker trying to play his life around the side. But so far, no one dropping, at least, as Fisher Esports going to try and get moved up through the mid, maybe catch Cootie off guard, who is still yet to drop in this game.
Fast flank through bridge. Darkside opens up at the first blood. Look at the mini map. Cootie, he is all the way through 6 in a row, and he's going to trade 3-on-3. You have control towards top open. And it's going to immediately draw the attention of Bullcut. Mad while the rest of his team is overwhelmed on the side. Players just losing their battles 24 seconds. You don't have time to dilly-dally fish here. You need this round, but Cootie, he is unbreakable on Hacienda. And for Brack, I mean, you want these kills, but you don't have the time. You lose the fight, and you've lost 4 in a row.
Do not think any of us expected this going into this map 5, did we? I mean, such a close series all the way through for all of a sudden St. Clair Saints to just completely turn it up. Not just one level. I mean, it feels like multiple levels they have turned it up, right? I mean, Fisher Esports have not had a chance in this one so far. And yeah, that was the big swing round for them. They needed to get something there. The fact that they didn't, it's starting to look really damning.
Big question here, Zap, is can anybody kill Cootie? He's got a Hellstorm now.
Yeah, it might be too little too late even if they do take him down.
And KB might be coming up on that RCXD too, as you have so much in your arsenal. It's going to be an A attack. Bomb's going to get there, and St. Clair might be respecting this quick plant. Do you invest the Hellstorm here?
Oh, what a great first blood, though, to get. They might save it at this point, or...
Here it comes.
Is that being popped in? Yeah, there we go. I knew I heard something.
Well, it's back to go down. 4v2. Matt tagged up and dropped. Darkside for the 1v4. Almost makes it a 1v2. But he is cleaned up immediately for the trade. Saints are everywhere on the map. And they are leaving no stone unturned. 5 in a row. What an anticlimactic game 5 we're getting.
Talk about when the Saints go marching in, my word, Cootie yet to drop at all. I mean, truly, it's just been immaculate to watch. And I mean, going into a map number 5 and potentially ending it without even dying once. I mean, you talk about pressure making diamonds and you talk about players who you need to carry you through these sort of key scenarios, these game winners, these pressure players. Cootie's just absolutely showing why he's at a top level.
He's been that guy this season too. It is so well developed in the camp for St. Clair. You know these players have it in them to clutch for the search and destroys for Hacienda. They're looking comfortable. Information for Phantoms all the way up top open, but it looks like the bomb's going to be slowly edging its way out the middle. Look at where this is going. Cootie's making the full flank through water. He wants to get behind the play, see if he can open up the rotation over towards this B site, and Phantoms hasn't seen him.
This flank could be absolutely huge if we can get through.
Might be too long.
He has.
Phantoms has a chance.
Where does he push from here?
He ends up going down. So first blood at the site. And now that leaves a full lane for Cootie to make his play. Darkside gets caught by it. Brack drops as well. And after 4, maybe 5 long hours of Fisher versus St. Clair to open up the CCL championships, it takes 3 casters, 2 different setups, and a whole lot of lobby resets. But St. Clair 6-0 sweep their way through the search and destroy and take a win to kick off their championships.
Massive congratulations to the Saints. I mean, that was a statement map, to say the least, for the rest of the teams in this LAN. To pull off that in a map number 5 just goes to show that even if we're taking all the way, we're going to be able to pull it out of the bag when we need to. And just look at that S&D recap. I mean, that is just utter annihilation.
It doesn't even matter. In Rewind, it was like, you get the first blood, you win the round. This time, St. Clair didn't mind playing a player down. They were there for the trades. They were able to quickly reincorporate a different strategy to their plays. And you saw so many times how free Cootie looked on the map. This guy was hitting, 20 or 15, 20-second flanks at times. And the rest of the team were like, all right, we'll wait. We'll wait for you.
And it's amazing how well that worked as well. And I'm kind of surprised that Fisher Esports weren't able to nullify Cootie earlier. I mean, kind of recognizing that he's the player that's going on the flanks, that's going to try and pick those distances. Where, look, a little bit of COD timing comes into it here and there when you're playing like that. But you have to give credit to Cootie for being able to utilize that COD timing, being able to get on those flanks, pick up those key positions, and actually pick up the kills, which offered so much opportunities for his teams to be able to push through those lanes that he would then open from the back.
Well, I mean, it's also just around the rest of the team to allow that to happen, especially for that last play in round 6 for Cootie, who was hitting the full flank through Boathouse all the way around the spawn of Fisher Esports. KB, Rupert, they kick things off with that first blood. They open up those lanes. They allow for that distraction to give him time to flank. So 3-2, we get a look back at this one, and man, that is not the game 5 that we expected. 6-0 in the Hacienda after getting a nail-biting hardpoint, a drawn-out search in Rewind, and a Rewind hardpoint that really could have gone anybody's way. I thought Fisher had it in them for this game 5 to really draw Saints through these S&Ds, but it just shows that after a really long day throughout this first series of your round robin, it might be a little bit of out of gas for this series in general.
Completely agree. I think it's a case of a series of it was close until it wasn't. And, I wonder if Fisher Esports would be reminiscing on that map number 3, reminiscing of the break and wondering, well, if we didn't go into a break, would things have turned out slightly differently? If we were able to keep the momentum from winning a round 11 search and destroy and take that into the control, would we have been able to pull it back from 1-0 down? It's all if, buts, and maybes at this point, and ultimately, you just have to give the kind of commiserations to them. They put on a great game, but when it came to that search and destroy, it never at any point looked like a contest.
Fortunately enough, you're still in the running for the championships. Like, this isn't it. I mean, this is just the round robins, and you're not even eliminated out of the round robins either. So you have time to bounce back if you're Fisher. You can maybe get your revenge either tomorrow or later on today. But for now, for you and I mean, we have to get this series done. We got to move forward to the next one, and I'm pretty sure we got Oklahoma Christian now going to be jumping on the stream versus St. Clair. Fisher, they got to take on Northwood. We'll get these players set up, and we'll get things going as quick as we can.